thank you for joining me this evening. These are some things that if you keep up with me in any way, you know I'm interested in and I like to talk about. And so I thought this would be a really good time while everybody is freaking out and stressing out to talk about these things again in a little more formal style, but also informal. I want to have a dialogue here. So please ask questions, ask me to clarify. If you think I'm bullshitting you, contest me, and we'll have a talk. This is going to be something fun. And yeah, so we also have a lot of free time. Most of us, I have an essential job, and I know a few others that might be watching have essential jobs, so we're kind of going day to day as usual, but a lot of people right now have a lot of free time on their hands, okay? And one thing that I've heard throughout my life is, I'll think about these type of things, whether it's inner work or spiritual matters or just whatever it is, or dealing with stress. We find ways to get by, but a lot of people don't want to actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Put in the time intentionally. We'd rather use our time to go through Facebook or play video games or binge watch TV shows. And that's cool. Trust me, I do all of those things. They're fun. But I've also made time for the past few years to really get my stuff together, okay? I've made that a priority. And the way I've seen it is a lot of people say, well, how do you have time for all of that? Like when I was doing meditation a little more formally and reading lots of books and commentaries and all sorts of things. And people be like, well, why do you worry about that? I've got my life to worry about. I don't have time for that. And for me, it was, look, if I don't take care of this first, if I don't look at myself and reevaluate myself and figure out what's going on with me, what my intentions are, all this stuff, and find ways to hone those in directions that are actually productive, then that means every other thing in my life is going to suffer if I don't make time for that first. So there's just a flippant priorities with me and others and a lot of other people out there. So this is saying, hey, we've got the time. Let's look into some things and see if we can figure ourselves out a little bit more. Let me pop over to chat real quick. First time viewer, long time for who's stressing out? Not me. Of course, everyone else seems to be preaching. All right. Yeah. What happened to the video and audio? Twitch is reporting issues. Someone in Twitch chat, tell me if the video and audio are back. But I'm just going to keep going because Facebook seems to be running happily. Working for me. Okay, cool. No problems there. All right, so that's what we're going to look at tonight, is a way to look at stress in some ways that will hopefully be very relevant for all of us right now and in our data lives outside of this crisis. And it'll also be some things that normally we would say we don't have time to do that, and we actually have some time. So, instead of watching that next show, just take 30 minutes and do a journaling exercise or something like that we'll talk about later, and just try and look at self and reevaluate self. So I use XIV, okay? Ziv, or it's the Roman numerals for 14. There's this stuff in it. But this is an outline, okay? This is an outline for something called self-remembering, okay? This is knowing what you are, okay? And we'll talk about that in a little bit. This V represents self-observation, and that's knowing what you're not, okay? And we will talk about that in a minute, okay? What we're going to focus on right now is the I in the center, which if you have self-remembering and self-observation in the mind, you have self-knowing. You know what I am. You know what's going on with that, okay? So we're going to take away, and I did not grab a paper towel to erase with. Oh, look at that, napkins. Okay, so, and this might fall, and if it does, we'll all have a good laugh. I'll reset, and we'll keep going, okay? Let's see. Oh, hey, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. We're about to really get into it. Okay, so we're going to use the XIV as kind of an outline for tonight, but I don't care if we actually get all the way through it tonight. I'm really more interested in making sure everyone who is watching understands what's going on. So please ask questions, and we'll stop. We can do this all night, not really, but you know, for a while. And I can always come back to this, and we can talk about this on another time. So we're just going to get through. I have an aim. We'll go that way. We'll see how far we get. Let's check chat. Hit refresh. You're back up in advance. Okay, cool. So we're going to take that I, but we're going to kind of make a seesaw out of it, all right? So we're going to do, and I'm going to try and do bold because I don't know. Can everybody see the board all right? I'm doing the best that I can with that, but I am going to show some graphics. So if you're watching on Facebook, tune in on Twitch, and there's actually going to be some graphics in the stream that will be much clearer representations of what I'm going to draw on the board. But I'm going to draw on the board, so hopefully you can see. So if you have problems, you can't read a word or anything, just let me know and I'll clarify, okay? So we're going to make a seesaw right here, all right? Okay, so this is going to be how we balance stress, okay? This is everything that your physical form has to adapt to, okay? Adaptation is something that we don't talk about a whole lot, but it's something that's absolutely essential to being alive. Once you can't adapt to a situation, you die, okay? Everything that happens in, you know, externally and internally requires an adaptation within the body, okay? So over here on this side, we're going to put two. First off, we're going to have activity. I'm trying to write dark for anyone who comes in later. Okay, so we have activity. Can we see that up there? Oh, good, that shows up all right. So my handwriting is atrocious anyway, so I'm not going to apologize for that, but I will translate. So down here, what do we got? Hey, yes. What's your handle on Twitch? My Twitch handle is in the description for this. You can click on it. It's Septi XIV. Okay, so if you're watching on Facebook, it's the first two names on my username, Septi XIV, but no spaces. Okay, so you can search me on Twitch and load it up there. Okay, all right. Down here below it is going to be nutrition. All right. Okay. So we have activity and nutrition. Okay. So let's kind of talk about these two. All right. Activity is obviously what I'm doing now. I'm very animated. I'm moving around a lot and all good stuff. So that even counts as activity. Going to work, walk, whether you walk or you drive, do exercises, don't do exercises, read. Especially like more complex concepts, stuff like that can just wear your brain out and stuff. Okay, no, this is nutrition for the yes, for the eyes. Okay, thank you. All right, so activity is anything that you do with the physical body, okay? And that, you know, when I said reading, you know, we talk about the mind, but that's your brain, okay? It gets wore out too. It gets tired as well. So activity, okay, it's what you're doing. Now down here, obviously, we have nutrition, which is what you put in your body. It's how you nourish and replenish the energy of your body, okay? It's how you preemptively take care of the body going forward if the activity were to change, okay? So if you have a healthy nutrition, if you have a spike in activity, you should be all right, okay? So we're going to have, this is like one little seesaw paddle here, okay? This is how these two balance each other pretty well, okay? You know, if you're paying attention. So if your nutrition is crap, okay, you're not going to have a lot of energy for activity, okay? And if you try to do a lot of activity, you're going to have physical adaptations to that. You're going to have cramps. You're going to have stomach issues. You're going to have headaches. You're going to have all sorts of things because your body's like, look, we don't have what we need to do this right now. Come on. And over here, it can also be if you have too much, you can't eat a huge steak dinner or whatever and then go run a couple miles. I would not recommend it. Your body will adapt poorly to that. It will be a mistake. So you can see how you want to keep an eye on what your activity level is generally, okay? And make sure your nutrition is balancing that. Now, I'm not a dietitian, so I'm not going to tell you how to eat, okay? I'm not going to tell you to be vegan or vegetarian or to go full paleo or carno or anything like that. I will tell you what I do, which is I'm gluten intolerant, apparently. That's a thing in my family. We just don't do well with wheat, okay? And so I have some offsets. Now, I also, we make our own kefir milk, and so I have that in the mornings with a shake. I drink black coffee, probably about 2 to 4 cups a day, okay? And then I'll have 1 to 2 meals a day. And those will either be full veggie, or they'll be a mix of veggie and meat, and sometimes they'll be all meat. So I dabble in all of it. I make no judgments and whatnot. You have to find whatever nutrition benefits you, because the nutrition that benefits me might not do anything for you. And I have a restriction that my body has kind of put on me that you might not have. Okay? So you got to find this for yourself. Whatever your daily, general activity is, and whatever nutrition is optimal for your body, okay? And you can do your own research and your own experimenting with how that goes, okay? So paleo sucks for me, right? No, I did actually try the carnivore diet for probably 6 or so months last year? 2 years ago. And it was interesting. I mean, it wasn't adverse, but it wasn't optimal. I ended up balancing back out after, into more of an balanced omnivore diet. So, okay, I'm a bit lost. I get where we are, but I missed why we are talking about the balance of things. Okay, cool. So this is, okay, I'm trying to make this where you can read it well. Okay, balance stress and adaptation. All right, can y'all read this bottom one? Do I have to sit here and darken everything in, or you can see that says stress and adaptation, which that more looks like an H, so we'll at least fix that. And okay, we're gonna do a total redo with that A. Woo! There we go. Adaptation, we got that? We good? Okay, can read, awesome, thank you. So, that's what this is. We're showing how stress and adaptation are balanced in the body, okay? These are 2 of the factors. We have activity and nutrition, and those are in very close relationship to one another, okay? And when we just kind of went over that, you need to make sure your activity is balanced with your nutrition so your body has the optimal energy that it needs to expend and recover, okay? So that's 2 balancing things there. Now, the other side, we're going to have... I'm going to give myself a little more room there because it's a bigger word, okay? We have environment. Okay, everybody read that? Environment. Let the light adjust. Okay, environment. All right, and inner. Oh, come on, James. Inner. Writing vertically is weird. Inner state. Now, before I go any further on this, I do want to make sure you understand these are not my ideas. I did not come up with this, okay? This was passed on to me. It has been passed on for I don't know how long. I know of 2 gentlemen in the past century who talked about these ideas, okay? And they're known only as the teaching ideas. I can send you links. I can help you find more materials. If these things sound kind of interesting, you want to look more into it, cool. But I didn't come up with this. This is something that was presented to me. I've worked with it for 5 years now and added on to all the stuff I had already been doing in the previous years. And so this checks out for me. I've experimented with this. I'm just speaking from experience in this. And I'm not changing anything. The only thing that different is me doing the whole XIV thing to kind of give myself an outline. Everything else is the same. And if you're on Twitch, I'm going to switch the slide over so you can see from a old teaching manual a little clearer thing. So if you're watching on Twitch, you can see this graphic. I'll read it for you who are on Facebook. And it says, adaptation by X is a constant balancing action to 4 variables. Now, X, by the way, going back to self-remembering, okay, which is the X in the XIV, okay, X is a stand-in for the wordless, okay, the thing you can't describe. It is a stand-in like in algebra. We don't know what it is, but we can see its interactions within the equation, okay? It is the biological life force, okay? It is whatever's going on between the DNA and RNA relationship that is progressing through life in the way that it is. It is the way the whole cosmos has formed and come about to bring about the conditions that were right for life and that keep propelling us forward. X is a way of saying, I don't know what it is, but I see that it's there. So we're looking at like, when you see a dead body, you know that there's no life in it. There are obvious signs that there is no X in that, no life in that. And when life is in something, it's there. You can notice it. So just check in chat. So adaptation by X is a constant balancing action of 4 variables. Okay, and this means that the body, the life force in the body, is constantly balancing out these stresses from these 4 different things, okay? So first we have environment over here, the way it's listed on the graphic. You're just transfixed. All right. Environment, okay? What is going on around one, okay? This is 1. You are 1. They're a 1. He's a 1, she's a 1, everybody's a 1, okay? We're a 1 expression of X, okay, of this life, okay? So environment is what's going on around me, all right? Well, you can see my environment a little bit. It's actually kind of warm in here, so I may put on a fan a little bit later because this room gets bad circulation. So I'm a little warm, okay? My environment's making me perspire, and it's just a good thing y'all aren't here to smell that. Just kidding, I don't stink. Anyway, so environment is what's going on. So an example of environment, okay? If you're not a smoker, okay? And I quit smoking cigarettes regularly about 2 years ago, but every time I go into a bar that allows smoking inside, the next morning my throat is hoarse, my nose is congested, and I have to like go through a bit of a purge to hawk all that out and blow my nose out and all that good stuff, okay? It's not pleasant, okay? But what was that? That was X, this one, adapting to a stressful environment, not used to a smoke-filled room. And so my body was like, okay, we're going to exude mucus to protect the membranes. We're going to, protect the throat. We're going to coat it with a layer of stuff. And it adapted to that. But it was just a one-time thing that night. And so the next morning, it's not the appropriate environment. I'm not in a smoky room anymore. I don't need that adaptation. But that's what that is. So that's an example of environmental adaptation, okay? It's what's going on outside of the body, okay? Number 2 is the inner state or inner feelings as it's on the graphic in there, okay? And that's what one feels, okay? That's how you feel about it, okay? It's not saying, oh man, it's warm in here. It's me being like, God, it's so hot. I can't believe it. I wish the air was on and it would circulate better in here. I wish this green marker would stay up here. See, sometimes it works. Anyway, so what one feels is what you're feeling about the environment, what you're feeling about your activity, what you're feeling about nutrition. If you're running because you're one of those masochists like my wife that likes to just run miles and miles and miles, then you could be running and being like, this is awesome, oh, this is so great, I feel wonderful, my body's vibing, all that good stuff, okay? Or you could be like me, and in mile and a half, you're going, oh my God, okay, no, I'm keeping up, we're going full 3 miles. Oh God, why did I commit to this? You know, you can have very different feelings during activity, okay? And that's going to affect your stress levels, okay? And you can also have feelings about your nutrition. You know, you could be happy as a lark eating ramen, you know, and sipping on Kool-Aid. And that's just fine. Your inner state is actually up, okay? And yeah, there's my wife. They're going, she's like, it's wonderful. We're running. Okay, so you could feel great about eating those things, and your inner state is up. Now, your body may be doing some physical adaptation based off of the off of how the body actually interacts with ramen and Kool-Aid, but at least your inner state is in a good mood. You know, you're not having an adaptation because you're not feeling this is horrible. Or you could be having a wonderful dinner and you could just feel real sour about it. You know, just it's not good enough, whatever, you know, you just feel bad. And even though your body is going to get the nutrition that it needs, your inner state's kind of throwing that off because you're getting down, okay? And so then number 3 on here says activity, what one does, okay? What one does is, like I said, that's your activity, okay? Nutrition is what one consumes, okay? So, what is going on around one? What one feels, what one does, what one consumes, okay? So, we have these 4 things. So, we're pretending this is a seesaw and this is a seesaw, but it's attached to one big seesaw here, okay? So, this is like a circus-style balancing act that's going on here between these 4 dynamic things, okay? And so these you're really only going to be able to figure out for yourself, okay? You're going to have to experiment with your own nutrition. What works for you, okay? Maybe veganism works for you. Maybe you're allergic to meat. You know, who knows what it is? You got to do this. That's you. I'm not talking about nutrition tonight. This is the last part I'm going to talk about it, okay? Activity, you know, one of the people who talked about this said he tried to move every joint at least once every day. And he would park far away from the grocery store and he would walk then, and that was the only walking he did. But he tried to make sure he moved everything at least once every day, and he considered that to be enough activity, and that man lived to be over 90 years old. So, you know, but you've got to see what this is. You know, some, like my work, I end up working multiple miles a day with one of my clients who is autistic and just loves to walk. So 4 days a week, I'm for sure walking anywhere from 2 to 10 miles, okay? So I have that set into my routine, but then I can choose, like on the weekend, if I want to go biking or something like that, which I love to do. So it's a matter of figuring out what activity works for you and what nutrition works for you. Now, your environment is going to change, okay? You're going to go into, you know, pubs or whatever that smoke, you know, and so you're going to have that. You're going to go outside where there's, you know, a lot of traffic, a lot of noise, you know, danger, Will Robinson, because there's cars, you know, you got to pay attention to that. Those can definitely affect your environment and your inner state. You get hit by one. And so your environment's constantly changing. So you need to be aware of what is going on around you, okay? And making sure that you are paying attention to that and you're exerting what you need to do based off of what the environment shows, okay? Now the inner state. This is where we're really going to harp on tonight because I can only give you anecdotes of environment and activity and nutrition. These are things you're just going to have to work with day to day, okay? And that's your job right there for this. I can't talk any more about those things. But inner state, we can talk about that. And a lot of people don't like to talk about that, okay? Because it's messy. You know, when you're trying to go to sleep at night and you got all those thoughts just kind of going on, ticking on in your head. You know, the little meme of the brain, like just throwing a random question out there or thought, and you just end up sitting up all night regretting something that happened in 5th grade, and, you know, whatever it is, you know, those things are the things we're talking about. Those are the things that we need to dive into. Okay, so let's see. Interstate, I got it. All right. And slow me down. If I'm going too fast, let me know. Ask questions, okay? So I don't want to leave anybody behind. I'm not in any hurry, despite how fast I'm talking. I'm very verbose, and I like to talk, and I'm halfway decent to, you know, at it, as I just, you know, lose a word right there in the middle of the thing. So, is everybody clear on this before we focus more on this? Okay? And get like 1s for yes, 2s for no, you know, anything. If anybody has an issue, ask it. We'll come back to it, okay? I'm going to dampen this napkin real quick. And we will get this off the board. So, your interstate's how you feel about everything, okay? And we've given some examples of how you can feel different ways about your environment, about your activity, and about your nutrition, and how that obviously has an effect, okay? A bad meal can be worse, okay, with a bad interstate about it. You got some crap food you really don't want to eat? Well, I mean, if you sit there and mull over it and, you know, get yourself all bent out of shape about it, I guarantee you that meal's going to go down and integrate a lot worse than it would have, okay? So, I don't have a graphic for this, okay? So you and Twitch are just going to deal with the board like the people on Facebook, okay? I'm assuming there are people on Facebook because I can't actually see the viewer count with the way that this is. Which actually, you know, let's see if we can adjust that, because that's coming up. And let's raise that up a little bit. No. We're going to need... Bear with me, folks. Be right back with you. Let it adjust. Maybe I could do this, because that's keeping that pretty well. There we go. No, we don't want it maximized. We want it over there, just out of the way, so it can show us the stats. Okay? Make sure that we're doing all right. Oh, good Lord bless it. All right, we're going to get this. We're going to get this through the power of friendship or something. All right, and by the way, I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. I've got 10 people on Twitch, and let's find out how many. I got 3 people on Facebook, so that's just fine. That's great. That's 13 people who felt like listening to me talk about some random crap tonight. So I really appreciate you being here. All right, let me shrink that down. Let's see, what does this say? Oh, okay, gotcha. Somebody was telling me they weren't chatting, but they were listening, so that's sweet of y'all. Okay. All right, so we're back. All right. So we're going to talk about some interstates, okay? And what these do, okay? Now, we as humans, with our frontal lobe and everything that gives us self-reflection and all these wonderful little doodads we have, allow us to interact with our world in different ways from the rest of the planet. Our bodies are still the same as our evolutionary counterparts, okay? So when we see somebody who gives us a scowl from across the room, you know, it's just like mean mugging us across the way, and we go, oh shoot, like, what did I do to that guy or whatever, you know, and you sit there and you start getting afraid, You know, usually we go straight to fear, like, what is he doing, you know? And you start getting scared, you know, that initiates what we call a fight or flight response, okay? So, let's see. I don't feel like writing that up there right now because I want to talk about it for a second. So, that's going to initiate a fight or flight response. Now, is the YouTube? Okay, it is. Man, I'm really lagging on Facebook. Let's see. Oh, I think we're having issues on Facebook. It looks like. Let me refresh my page here. See if that does anything. Bear with me. Okay, good. That's a little more up to date. Let's see what this chat is saying down here. Oh goodness, I've got quite a few chats. I'm sorry, I'll catch up with chat real quick. Bring that up. Okay, cool. Let's see what we got. I'm sorry, on here had a phone call. No worries. All right, everything's fine. Okay, thank you, Brandon, on Facebook. I think interstate is easy normally when all the other conditions are met well. It's when the environment is more hostile or the nutrition is more difficult to come to or when activity grows stale that the interstate is rough to keep healthy. Yes, it definitely takes, you know, a balance of these, okay? And there's 3 that we can use very actively, okay? 1 second, let me hit that so that's playing and I'm keeping. Okay, there we go. All right. So let's talk about that for a second. Okay, so keeping. Oh, and sorry. Is it weird to notice them because I'm too self-involved? But that describes how those 3 might affect inner feelings to me. Okay. All right. So cool. Thank you for the questions. Let's see how we can address this. Interstate seems to be the interplay of all of these. It is definitely our stage in this, okay? Because it's something that we have differently from the rest of life, okay? The rest of life, it's really tied in the thing. Like we said, fight or flight. You know, an animal sees a predator or prey, sees a predator and goes into fight or flight, okay? You know, they're either going to have the energy sent to them to attack the thing or the energy sent to them to run away, okay? Even freeze is just sitting there harnessing it because a rabbit will freeze, but it's waiting. It's like concentrated energy, and as soon as it seems it needs to run, it will bolt, okay? Well, our bodies are still wired that way. Our bodies will still react that way, okay, when we tell it that we're in danger, okay? And so one thing with these ideas, okay, let's pause that for a second because that comment from Elk, which by the way, thank you for that, pointed out I wish I still had it up here. So in the past it was said that one couldn't do the necessary work of self-observation and other things unless those 3, the environment, the activity, and the nutrition, were at an optimal level. Basically, you weren't having to worry about where you ate, what you did, your home life, you know, and so people who had stability of some sort were able to then turn to more intellectual things, okay? And that, you know, you look at like the Enlightenment era and other things like that, the people who were talking about those things weren't hurting for money, for you know, nutrition, and they didn't have to worry about where they were sleeping. Now there were some, I'm not saying all, blanket statement, but it seems to be easier to work with the interstate when those other 3 are at some way balanced, okay? And so that's kind of the idea of, I believe it's a Taoist thing, maybe it's Confucius, it said, be a king in the world and a monk in the mind. And that meant take care of your business in the world, okay? So determine, you know, working about your nutrition, about your activity, and your environment would be the idea of being a king in the world. Like, taking care of business, doing what you need to do, making sure you're safe and protected and well-fed and all of that. But the monk in your mind would be the inner state, okay? And I know I'm tapping at this blank board for those of you who just joined in. I know that it's blank. It wasn't. You tuned in late, so you'll have to come back later to see what it was. Anyway, so yes, we're talking about this inner state. It's relevant, and you can do it even when these are out of flux, okay? But those are the easier ones, more obvious ones to address, okay? So let me come back over here. Same here. Are we drawing a distinction between inner state, a mode of being, and inner feeling, something temporary and often rely on external inputs? Yes, we're getting there. We're getting there. Good questions. Thank you. Okay, so the inner state is your mood, okay, your state of being. And like you said, feelings are fleeting. You know, the feeling of happiness is something that you have until something else happens, okay? You're non-disturbed for a little bit. Like, you come home and you sit down and you got your big Taco Bell box and you just getting you start getting your TV going and everything, and you take a couple bites and you're just like in hog heaven. You're just like, this is great. I got my food, got my shows, got my feet propped up after a hard day of work, and then suddenly you realize, oh God, I didn't get a drink. Okay, and you got to get up again. Well, you were in happiness and bliss and non-disturbance for just a few moments, and then suddenly something disturbed you, and you had to get up, and oh God, I don't want to get up. I got to put everything aside, pause my movie. This is so laborious. And you move on to the next thing. You go get the thing, you come back, you sit down, oh, you're happy again. And you get your thing played, and somebody calls you, and you're like, yeah! And it's not one you can ignore, and you're just like, man, I just want to have some me time, have some happiness, non-disturbance. You know, yes, it's fleeting. It comes and it goes, okay? People go through flashes of anger. They go through flashes of fear, okay? But there is a state of being. Okay, one second. Kyrune just said something. I want to talk about the idea of mental fortitude, as there has been research done on high-performing individuals, and the way they are able to perform so high tends to be off of keeping personal rituals when able, and that allows them to be flexible in many ways that most will not be. Okay, let's put a pin in that, because basically what I'm going to lay out for you, and we'll talk about at the end, are some little rituals, some little things that you could do to maybe remind yourself of your intentions and things like that. So I like that. So we go through these feelings, and they're pretty fleeting. They come and go, okay? And some of them hang around in the background, okay? Fears, unless they are alleviated, unless you have okay, never mind, that's not that important, that's not what's going on. If you don't have one of those moments that takes that fear away, trust me, that fear is still nagging in the back of your mind. Like we were talking earlier about, when you're going to sleep and you have all these things that pop up into the mind and wake you up and remind you, oh yeah, you remember that thing you did back in high school? Yeah, that was really dumb. Shouldn't you feel stupid about that? Shouldn't you feel guilty? Or man, do you remember what that, chick did to you 2 years ago? Like, you should still be angry about that. That was her fault, So these things will stay in the mind, and they generate tension. They generate anxiety, okay? Because you have all of these different feelings that are going on in the background, so to speak, okay? One new thing, routine is helpful, but I'm bad at it. Yep, yeah, it's difficult to ingrain those new habits, to condition yourself differently, to form better things, but it takes time, and you'll get there when you get there, and if you don't, well, good effort. So let's talk about some ones that induce the fight or flight response, okay? So we'll put up here fight or flight reaction. Actually, we're going to say response. We're going to say response. Because the fight or flight response in every other life form on this planet is the appropriate response. They are responding to what they are able to, which is what they perceive, their threat. The body gives them the endorphins that they need in order to complete the task. they do it, they're done, okay? They're very integrated in that, okay? We're domesticated. We complicate things, okay? And so while we say, you know, I'm angry at that person, okay, and you sit there and you just like, oh my, they're to blame for this, you know, it's all their fault that they did this, I wish I could just, you know, you do that, okay, you might think you're just venting and you're being angry, you know, and that's a whole other thing. What you're telling your body through your feeling, through basically the way you're thinking, is determining how you're feeling, okay? Your worldview, your perspective at the moment is determining this feeling. And this feeling is what communicates to X, is what we were talking about earlier, okay? We talked about X being the biological force in this thing. You know, here's an example. I don't know how to beat my heart. I don't know how to breathe. I don't know how I'm talking to you, honestly, and I definitely don't know how to walk around. Now, I can give you some diagrams and talk in some doctor speak about how my ligaments pull and all this stuff and makes me do that, but I really don't know how to do that. And knowing that really doesn't help me a whole lot in knowing how I do that, okay? All I know is I make it true and valuable in my inner world, in my frame of reference, that this is what I would like to do. I would like to talk to you guys and tell you these things. And so by doing that, that generates a feeling. Obviously, I'm feeling very hyper. I'm feeling very excited because this is fun for me. I do this kind of stuff all the time. And if you've sat and talked to me about it, you know this smile, okay? And this is joy, okay? This is joy that's being expressed here. Now that joy, with that intention behind it, makes words come out, and lots of, you know, hand gestures that are absolutely unnecessary. No worries. Thanks for tuning in. So, and it'll be here tomorrow, so you can come back and watch what you missed on either Facebook or Twitch. So, thank you. Appreciate it. Right. So, we make it true and valuable to do things, okay? And it just happens, okay? It's good to be alive, you know, well, as long as I see that it's worth me living, my heart's going to keep beating, my lungs are going to keep going. You know of people who, or you've heard of people who, you know, they give up the will to live. They go into a deep depression after a death in the family or the loss of a child or something traumatic, and all meaning and purpose is lost in them, and they just go downhill rapidly, okay? This is when we see this is just no longer valuable to be alive, and so that stops, okay? So the idea that X does these things, we don't consciously say that we want to induce the fight or flight response, but if we get angry at someone and we start exhibiting that anger, okay, and through feeling, you notice your forehead starts to get hot. You know, your blood starts to boil. You get real amped up, real energetic. You sit there, you're just clenching your fists, just wanting to swing. It's because you're being given endorphins, okay, and other fun little hormones that are getting your body ready to fight a tiger. But there's no tiger there. There's just the guy mean mugging you across the room, okay? And it's not appropriate to go over and beat the crap out of him. And it would be rather silly, honestly, if you just went, "Ah!" and went running out of the thing because of dude mean mugging you across the way. So you're not able to express fight or flight, okay? Hand gestures are always necessary. Thank you. You're not going to be able to express what would naturally be expressed through fight or flight, okay? But those hormones, all that tension and everything that's been building up doesn't just go away. It sits there, and it has to find somewhere to go, okay? And we're going to talk about that a little bit and how that starts to disintegrate the body and the mind, okay? So some fight or flight responses, we would have anger. We have fear. We have guilt. And we have insecurity. Okay? Anger, fear, guilt, insecurity. All right? Now, Anger says, it's your fault. I blame you. I blame he, she, it, them, they, circumstances, whatever it may be. It is externally not my fault. It is their fault, and they are to blame. And so you begin to externalize violence. You're basically preparing to externalize violence. That's the fight. Okay, this is preparing to fight. All right. Now, fear would be, I don't know what's to blame. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I don't know who to blame. Okay, because guilt is I blame me. That shaded out the thing. So, all right, guilt is I blame me. Okay. And trust me, growing up a conservative Christian preacher's kid, this one had to deal with guilt quite a bit. Okay, that was a big thing. Now, trust me, I'm familiar with all of these, but you know what I'm talking about. The guilt is real. All right, not really, but it seems that way. Okay, so I blame he, she, it circumstances. I blame me. It's my fault. I've got to do something. And then fear is, I don't know what to blame. I don't know what he, she, it circumstances is, and I don't even know if it's me or not, okay? You're just afraid. That's the flight or the freeze, okay? And then insecurity is, I have to decide. I have to figure out who's to blame. Oh my God, what is it? Is it what I ate this morning? Is it the guy that cut me off? That's what got me riled up this morning. Whatever, you're insecure, and then you're finally just paranoid, socially anxious. So you go out and you're just like, oh my God, they might hate me. I don't know. Is it them? Should I have worn this? It's just, oh my God, I shouldn't even be here. What if they do this? What if they don't do this? That's insecurity, okay? That's, I have to find something to blame right now. There's gotta be something, I blame he, she, it circumstances. I blame me. I don't know what to blame. I gotta find something to blame, okay? All four of these initiate fight or flight, okay, in the body. Now I'm going to look over at chat real quick. Have to cut out as well. We'll definitely try to participate again. Thank you. Okay. So we would think, well, I don't need fight or flight responses because someone got my coffee wrong, at the shop, and now I'm just like, oh, that freaking idiot. You're just mad, right? You're just mad. You're just upset. This is intellectually, it's not, your life's not in danger. There's not a tiger chasing you, But your body doesn't know that. You put yourself in that state of being, okay, in any of these state of beings, and your body only translates it one way, fight or flight. And so it releases its cortisol, it releases all these other hormones and stuff into the body, adrenaline and everything, to just get you ready to take care of this tiger. Fight tiger, run from tiger. Fight tiger, run from tiger. There's no tiger. I'm just going to stand here and be mad. Or I'm going to drive down the road beating the steering wheel. Just go! That's as much as you're going to get. And guess what? That's more energy than is being expended in that little bitty outburst, okay? And we talk about wanting to rant, and that makes us feel so much better. Does it really? Because when you rant, you get yourself back into that emotion. When you tell that heartbreaking story from your childhood or, about, your ex or whatever it is, you begin to feel that again, don't you? You're like, oh my God, I forgot how. You find yourself in that state. And guess what that does? It releases this fight or flight response. Okay? And so we have all these things. Now, if you're a normal human, you're going to have multiple of all of these, okay, just coming and going and crisscrossing in throughout your head throughout the day. You're mad at this person for that. You're worried about next month's bills. You're over here angry at your boss for something he did 2 days ago, and you're also worried about coronavirus, and you're guilty if you might be going out too much, or you're angry at the people who are. You have thousands of these things in your mind, okay? Now, Carl Jung talked about we are not a single personality, okay? We're not just, this is not just James, okay? This is not just this single individualized thing, in Jung's idea. It was basically a conglomeration of multiple sub-personalities, okay? And it was basically, there's lots of little decisions, old and new, that are in this mind, and they're all still recorded, and they all pipe up. Those are those things that keep you up at night and all that good stuff, okay? And so we have all of this just going in our mind, and each one of them, every time we do it, it's just giving us a nice little drip. You know, it's like being plugged into an IV, except you got about 10 of them plugged in. And even if you find out, oh God, they're not gonna collect rent, they're excusing it for the next month or whatever, boop, you pull out that IV, that's great, but you still got 7 or 8 more, okay? You still got all these steady drips from all of these different subpersonalities that are generating all these different emotions, and that's all dripping stress hormones into your body. Okay, I'm gonna check chat. With coffee tigers, that sounds delicious. I do the screaming, waving arms thing when someone almost hits my car. Yes. So can we see that this is our normal state of being, okay? Now, we have happiness in here, you know, there's a little happy, right there, you know, a little excitement, you know, a little curiosity maybe. I don't know how to spell curiosity. You probably can't read it anyway, so you know, we have these other things in here, but how many of us would say that we do a lot of fearing and angering and guilting and insecuring, okay? And I mean, I watch social media and news things and whatnot, and I see generally, no matter what side of the fences you are, because there's lots of them, and there's really no fence anyway, but, you know, no matter where you are, what camp you're in, most everybody's in these all the time for different reasons, for their own reasons, okay? But that's where they're at, all right? And they get little glimpses of things like happiness and excitement and curiosity and whatnot, but then something's immediately disturbing them, and they're right back to one of these things, okay? And can we see that these things actually generate stress hormones? They break the body down. Because they're not expressed, we don't just run around clubbing people over the heads anymore, typically, okay? There are people who do express that, and we don't condone it, okay? And, I mean, I guess there are people who would go run screaming and stuff like that, but, you know, it's not often. So, the other thing let's touch on real quick is the idea of exercise. You think, oh, well, I'll just work it off, you know? I'll just work it off in the gym. I'll go run a couple miles, or I'll go bench press some stuff, or, you know, whatever it may be to get that. That's how I deal with that energy. Yeah, I get that. Well, no, not necessarily, okay? When you decide, I'm going to go on a run, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to enjoy it, and you start going, well, you're telling your body, we're going to run, we're going to enjoy this, we're going to do this high energy thing, and so it gives you energy to do that. You're not necessarily burning off old energy, because you know what's happened to that energy? It's not still coursing through you in fight or flight an hour later after, you know, dude mean mugged you and you got all pissed off about it for about a half hour, okay? That's gone. That's already found a way to adapt. We're going back to adaptation, okay? It's already found a way to adapt. And we're going to, if you're on Twitch, I'm about to switch the slides again. If you're not, you're just going to have to wing it, because this is a big one, and I don't know that I'm going to take the time to write it all out. You know what? We're not in a rush, so let's do this. Okay, so first, for those of you on Twitch, we're going to go over this first. Okay, so this is the many faces of the vicious cycle. We're going to talk about the vicious cycle. Let me get up here so you can actually see me on Facebook a little bit. The vicious cycle is when you have expectations. Okay, we were talking about earlier about, like, oh, I have the expectation, I'm all set for my dinner, and I'm going to sit here and watch the show. Nothing's bothering me, and I got this expectation. This is going to be great. Oh, I've been looking forward to this all day. Okay, and then disappointment happens. You get that phone call that you can't ignore. You spill something on your lap. You have to go clean it up. You forgot to get a drink. Whatever it is, there's disappointment from that expectation. And so what happens when we feel disappointment? We get hurt, okay? Our feelings are hurt. We don't feel good about it. Going back to earlier, our inner state's out of whack, okay? Because our expectation was let down, all right? Now, when we're hurt, we got to find something to blame, okay? And so what do we blame? Either he, she, it, circumstances. It's all their fault. It's not my fault, okay? Or we blame ourselves with guilt. Oh, I'm just not good enough. You know, I'm just an idiot. I'm just a klutz. Whatever it is, you start feeling guilty, okay? Or fear, I don't know what to blame, okay? And then insecurity is, I've got to find something. There's got to be something. You just get all anxious and just, what? Okay, so that's the 4 ways of finding something to blame, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to set you into fight or flight, and it's going to generate these stress hormones into the body. And when you're not able to express them naturally as fight tiger or run from tiger, there's going to be an adaptation, okay? That stress is going to have, that energy, all those things are going to have to go somewhere. They're going to have to do something because they can't be burnt up like they normally would. And doing it later at the gym is healthy, but it's not taking care of that unreleased energy, okay? Some things that can kind of work out these things, and we're going to get to why in a minute, is like massages and things like that break up, what do we call them? Stress knots all up and down our neck and our back and everything. You know, you can get a massage and you can have those old stress things broken up and loosen up, and it can contribute to a better inner state in that regard. Let's see, I had read in the past that the idea of gamification of every facet of your life leads to not panicking about things because you look at it less severe. Gamification, is that what you mean? Is that meaning like everything's a game? Like I don't know that word, so, you know, explain yourself, sir. Anyway, so all that energy has to go somewhere, and there's 4 places that it's going to go, okay? We've got, you're either going to have chemical imbalance or neuromuscular tension, okay? And that's going to result in an adaptation of either unusual cellular activity, so we're going to have cells that either get too big or they're reproduced too much, or they just die off. You know, the energy is too much, they get those hormones and they don't know what to do and they replicate, so we have things like, you know, cancer, tumors, things like this. You know, this is unreleased fight or flight chemicals pooling into these parts of the body, okay? Unusual sensations, so that's going to be like migraines. It's going to be, you know, back pain, stomach aches. You know, you're going to have indigestion because, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Tissue cell breakdown, okay? So that's the other one. You know, things just die off because there's just too much energy. You're not able to actually do anything. Then you can also have unusual behavior, okay? Unusual behavior would mean like you go binge drinking, okay? And, you know, just have some crazy night. You know, you act weird. You just go punch a wall or something that later, you know, because you're just so pent up. That's unusual behavior. That's these hormones, these stress things being adapted to, okay? And so we have this go on within the body. Now, what's weird is when you go into a fight or flight response, your body diverts energy from other parts of your body in order to make sure that you can either run from tiger or fight tiger, okay? And it takes things from unnecessary ones for that immediate emergency. And 2 of those specifically are digestion and immune system, okay? It doesn't matter if you've got a bacterial infection in the cut on your leg if you get eaten by the tiger, okay? So it diverts energy from trying to fight that bacterial infection and says, all right, get their legs ready to run, okay? It doesn't matter if you just ate a big meal, you know, if you switch on, you know, basically it doesn't matter if you digest this meal right now or not if you get caught by tiger. So energy gets diverted from the digestive system to fight or flight. Okay, 1 second, I got chat. Off topic, but there is a clicking sound in the audio that I've heard after switching between 2 sets of headphones. It's not constant, but it happens from time to time. Not sure it's mine. Is it this? Because I'm sitting here messing around with the marker, and that could totally be it. So if it is, I'm sorry. I'll put it down unless I'm using it. How about that? Right. So if you're in fight or flight, other necessary but not immediately necessary systems are having their energy diverted. So you're not focusing on digesting, you're not focusing on fighting bacterial infections and things of that nature if you are in fight or flight. And so if you're still driving down the road for 20 minutes road raging and you can't exert that energy in any way, what did it say? No, it's not the marker? Okay, cool. I'm still not going to pick it up. Apologies for the clicking. I don't really know why it's clicking. Right. So you're driving down the road. You're all angry, road raging and everything, but you don't have any way to express that. Well, it's not, your body's not just angry and still digesting, okay? So that McMuffin you just had is going to sit there, you know, especially if you stay angry. By the time you get to work and you're just in a foul mood and you just stay there, okay, your body will digest it, but much slower, much less efficiently. So it sounds like a fan slowly tapping something. It could be this hand-me-down laptop that I've got over here. Its fan is kind of clunky. I was hoping that it wasn't going to be too loud to where it'd be picked up on the mic, but that might be it. Right. So you stay angry about something like that, your body is going to digest the food, okay? But it's not going to have all the energy that it would normally need to do that efficiently. So you're probably going to have indigestion later, and then that's that. And then if you stay in that long enough, you know, if you have days when you're just racked with fear and depression and guilt or any of these things here, and you keep that state low enough, long enough, you're going to get sick, okay? Because your immune system is down. And all those little microorganisms that you're always in contact with, and your immune system's like, pow, 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 I got it, no worries. It's not able to do that, okay? It's not able to do that anymore. And so it is going to allow some through, and you're probably going to get sick. I've witnessed this, you know, in self, but also in other people. I'll watch someone who just gets real worked up for a long time, for a couple days about some issue or whatever, and like clockwork, within 3 days, they'll start complaining about cold symptoms, or they'll have a fever, or they'll think they have the flu, or something like that. It's very strange to watch, but that's because they have lowered their immune system by staying in fight or flight when there's no way to express that. And so their body has not been performing optimally when it comes to immunodefense, okay? Same thing with digestion, okay? You need to allow your body to have the energy that it needs. You know, this goes back to the seesaws we were talking about with activity and nutrition and environment and inner state, okay? You could have great nutrition. You could have great activity. You could have a optimal environment. But if your inner state's out of whack, it throws all of it out of whack, okay? It doesn't matter, okay? Your inner state, your inner feeling is what is going to determine this, okay? How you feel about that. So it is of vast importance. While it is important to figure out your nutrition, it's important to regulate your activity, inner state is what can really make or break this, okay? All right. So we've talked a bit about that. Now going back to the vicious cycle, we've got, you know, expectation, then disappointment. We have hurt, and then you look for something to blame. Anger, fear, guilt, insecurity. You get the stress hormones, okay? And they're not expressed, so you get an adaptation. So that's cellular abnormality, that's tissue breakdown, it's abnormal behavior, neuromuscular tension. That's getting stress migraines and stress knots. You know how you just get all like worked up, especially after a good bit of road rage. Your neck, your back are all tense. They're all tightened up because your muscles have been tensing up to exert, and there's nothing there. And so it just, little bitty stress knots, they just weave in, especially if you're doing this every day on the way to and from work, not to mention any other day-to-day stress that comes along. That's going to be enough to build up large stress knots and clusters of knots in your body. And that's not pleasant, okay? But that's an adaptation to what you're saying is real. That's what the state of being is. So that's what's going on, because the inner state is how you interpret everything else. It's how you interpret your nutrition. It's how you interpret your activity. It's how you interpret your environment, okay? Your inner state, that's your frame of reference. That's how you think about it. That's how you feel about it, okay? And so that's why this is of extreme importance, or value, maybe, is being aware of these states of being. What sends you to these states of being, okay? And what these states of being are like. How does it feel physiologically to feel angry? What does it feel like physiologically to be in fear, guilt, insecurity, okay? Take notes on these things. When you find yourself raging against some political figure, okay, and you find yourself just, like, take notes real quick. Just stop and be like, oh, okay, let me write that. What was that like? My forehead was really hot. My blood pressure felt, and I was straining. I was just yelling, you know, whatever it feels like, okay? Take notes on that. What do these feel like, okay? Because it's valuable to know this, all right? And note how often you stay in these states, okay? How often do you find yourself in these? And then also, how many factors of that, how many things are you angry about that can just, like, the mere mention of it, a thought just pops into your head and you're at 10, okay? Ready to just take somebody out because of something you're angry about, or some deep-seated guilt that just keeps you awake at night and just worries you to death, okay? Take note of how many triggers you have to these emotions going on. How many drip feeds do you have in the background that are just pumping you full of stress hormones all the time and creating this? You see this mess? This is what we call internal conflict, okay? This is what we call thinking, all right? It's a bunch of these things. Just the whole time. It's a radio without an off switch, just going back and forth, and you're in it because, you know, this is me. This is how I feel. I just feel this way. So you feel it. That's you, you know, when you feel angry. That's you when you feel fear. But you're just back and forth, back and forth. Oh, look, I'm happy for a minute. No, something pissed me off. Oh, no, I'm curious about something. Oh, man, I should have been doing that thing over there. Now I'm guilty. You're just back and forth through all of this internal conflict, okay? That's thinking, all right? Any questions on the fight or flight response, the emotions in this regard, and about the balancing of the stress adaptations? Okay, I'm going back to the chat. Kai said earlier in reference to the gamification, said everything should be looked at as a game, and you do this, you realize the results can be easily changed, therefore less stressful. Okay, I've heard of that. A friend of mine was, no, maybe I'm thinking of something different. I think his was called game theory. But yes, taking the idea that life is a series of games that most people think are very serious and very important can be beneficial because it acknowledges that there are consequences, but it allows you to not necessarily feel life-threatening, immediate life-threatening fight or flight, you know, emotions about the results. You know, you get fired from your job, that sucks. That's going to have consequences. You're going to have things going on. But if you're like, all right, well, game over, man. I guess I'm going to have to do my one-up thing and go apply for some jobs and go out here and look for something because I can get back in this game and get going again. You don't have to get all bent out of shape in one of these, you know, you feel guilty about, you know, all the stuff you did, or not knowing why did they fire me, or oh, it was that manager, he's had it out for me, or whatever. Am I going to be able to get another job after this? You know, all of these, okay, can just take you down when things like that happen in life. But what he's talking about with this gamification thing is the idea that we're playing a bunch of different games. And when you're playing games, you get serious about it, right? You play Monopoly with some good people, you're having a good game going. That's serious, man. You know, you ain't cheating. What are you talking about? No. I want to win this. You know, you take it seriously. You have fun with it. You engage with it. But if you lose, you're not going to die. You know, even though I know many people who are very poor sports and will feel very, very upset in one of these if they lose just a board game. But that's essentially what we're talking about, is looking at life, according, as Kai said over there, in the idea of like gamification. Okay, it's just a series of games. You got to play the game. There's rules, there's consequences, there's rewards. Okay, and that's actually a nice way to look at things, because there's a difference between what we feel entitled to and what we feel are privileges. Okay, you don't go into playing Monopoly and you feel entitled to having 3 houses already on the block. No, you have to earn those by landing on the spaces, paying the money, getting the thing. You get the privilege of owning that thing, and therefore you get the privilege of when someone lands on that, you get the money for the thing. Okay, it is something you have earned. You have played the game, you have played it well, you have earned that privilege. You're not entitled to it. It's not a right. Someone can take that from you. Okay? Someone can take that from you. And so you look at things like that. It's like, man, I got fired, so I lost my job. Well, that was a privilege. Apparently, I was not upkeeping that properly. I lost the privilege for that. But I can get back in the game and do a 1-up and get another job somewhere else and start earning those privileges again and get right back at it. So it is a beneficial way of looking at things, okay? And we can talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Let me check chat real quick. In games, you have a respawn, so you can F up and keep going. So this is like you have a respawn as long as you aren't dead. Yeah, that's not a bad analogy. Hey, I've seen friendships end because of Monopoly. No, I'm telling you, man. Some people could get real worked up about games, and I mean, you get me really into a video game, man. Whoo! I mean, some of y'all have seen me stream. There are times when I'm just like, I need to stop for a second, and I need to go like walk around and get away from this because I'm about to get real mad at this game because I keep dying at this point or whatever it is. So it's definitely a thing, but you stay mindful of when your state of being is changing. Like the example I was given, I notice when I'm starting to get angry. Like it's not just challenging and I'm like, okay, I'll do it, but it's just like, oh my God. And I start feeling that change. That's like, okay, whoa, I need to put this down because this is not something that fight or flight chemicals are not going to help me win a video game, okay? Other than slightly sharpening my attention and response time sometimes, getting into that fight or flight, I have nothing to actually use my body to fight or to run from. And so I have no way to exert that. So I'm just going to get more tense. I'm going to get more jerky with my emotions. And if you're in the emotional state, which is generating those, you're blinded by that. You see things very, very differently when you're angry, okay, than when you're not. Okay? You see things very differently when you're in fear rather than curiosity. Okay? You got completely different reality tunnels going on when you're in one of these things. Okay? And so if I'm sitting there trying to play a video game and I'm angry at it or whatever, I'm not seeing clearly. Okay? I'm seeing in blame of like, this game is stupid, it's just dumb, they shouldn't be doing this, whatever, rather than being able to be, okay, here's what's going on. All right, that person's over there. They're on the map over there paying attention to my radar. Whatever it is, okay? If I'm staying in a clear state, I'm there. I'm able to actually respond to what's going on rather than react, okay? So we have fight or flight response up here is what it is naturally. But now we're not in a response. We're in a reaction. Okay? A reaction, an action again, okay? You are reacting like you have in the past to this. It's not a fight or flight response. This is not appropriate way to respond to what's happening, okay? You're reacting in anger, fear, guilt, or insecurity, and that just throws everything off, okay? Let me see chat. Me don't play with Septi. I felt that salt on Halo with you, brother. I'm telling you. I used to play Smash with him years ago. Yeah, Hypno Zombies, one of the friends I met when I was in Kansas about 10 years ago. How nuts is that, dude? 10 years ago. Yeah, I play League, and when I have a hard loss, I have a rule that I can't play for 10 minutes. Or even Salty or MTG. Yeah, Magic. Woo! Woo! That can get intense. Yeah, you're talking about watching friendships die off of Monopoly, man. Whew. I've had some long intervals between friendships just because of Magic. So, are we clear on this? Is this making sense? Anyone have any questions, clarifications, comments about this particular thing? I'm about to wipe it out and we're going to carry on. Okay? We good? I'm going to give you a second for it to catch up on stream. We were so young, right? Oh man, so much has changed in just 10 years. It's nuts. Okay, since we're not having any questions, we're gonna go ahead and race. Wait, what do we get? It's okay. I beat James at Magic. Yeah, we'll see. Hey, we can test that. We can check that out for self right there, young sir. I say young sir, but you're like my age, so which we're young. We are young. Didn't know this would be karaoke night too, huh? Whoop! There it goes. I told you it was gonna fall. Everybody have a good laugh. Oh, there it goes. Come on. She's breaking up, Captain. I can't hold her. I'm giving her everything she's got. All right. Okay. All right. We're going to try this again. We're going to do the erasing thing. Oh, no, there it goes. Yeah, I'm missing the screw that goes to this thing. And so I was like, man, it could totally go at any time. We'll make it work, though. Okay. Stable? Okay. There we go. Sealed? Nah, just like classic and EDH, man. Just like your own decks. I mean, I guess we could play sealed, but that's for another time. Let's see, okay. I'd like to hear some more things to help healthily vent those stressors, okay? I always played limited formats. Okay, I'm sure it's different for everyone. Oh, no, I should talk to James about Magic now. Okay, I want to be in this Magic game. That can totally be arranged, you know, especially if you have webcams. We could totally do like a Skype call or something and play some Magic as long as everybody, you know, promises not to cheat. You know, we could play all across the world, you know, in this. So, all right. So Elk said, I'd like to hear more things to help healthily vent those stressors. Okay. And he says, I'm sure it's different for everyone. Okay. Well, yes. Okay. There are healthy ways to do that. And yes, exercise is a good way to do those things. Okay. But you know, massages and the whatnot. But the thing is even if you go and get a massage, and you get all deep tissue massage, get it all worked out, you know, and you go regularly and you work out and you keep your body healthy and in that state, if you have a frame of reference that continues to develop, you know, produce those stressful situations and produce those stressful hormones, then your body's going to go right back to what it was, okay? And so, like I was saying, even if you go jog an hour after you had a stressful thing, you're not really burning off that stress production, okay? You know, because especially if you've been, let's say you go jog an hour after because you've been angry for an hour about this, and you're just like, man, I got to go and get this out. So you go and you go jog a couple miles. All right. You're then actively, and you're just going through the thing, so you're angry. You're using it then. But you have an hour's worth of stored up energy, okay, before that was already having to adapt because for an hour you've had to just sit there and bite your tongue and clench your steering wheel and do nothing to actually exert it. So it went to whatever adaptation your body deemed appropriate, okay? So you're not able to actually work that out, especially if you get into the point where your digestion and your immune system's off, you're off. So what we're going to talk about is being aware of these states of being so as to not generate so much stress hormones in the first place, so that you don't have to find ways to burn them off like that, okay? And that way, if you do go get a deep tissue massage and you do regularly work out, you're not rebuilding all of that stress, okay? Especially as actively as you were. Does that make sense a little bit? For me, competition is what helps it let the stuff come to the surface and at the end be done. I tried to get in magic, but I was awful. Okay. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about. So we talked about earlier we had the X, the I, the V up here, okay? And that's my outline. That's how I keep this stuff straight, okay? And we talked about the I, we turned it on the side, made it into a little seesaw, and we talked about activity and nutrition and environment and inner state as the 4 balancing factors of stress, okay? And we walked through that. And then we talked about the emotional states and how those trigger fight or flight responses, okay? So now we're going to go back to the X, okay? So let's just draw us a nice big X. All comes back to X. All is X, okay? Everybody see that nice big X there? Isn't that pretty? All right, cool, cool. All right, what we're going to do here is go over what we call self-remembering, okay? This is knowing what you are, okay? So we're going to say this is a picture of an integrated I'm actually going to need that space in a minute, but okay. Living being. Okay? All right, so a picture of an integrated living being is what we're going to draw up here. Let's see. It's probably going back to this. This is a hard idea. Okay. All right. So, this is self-remembering. Now, we were talking about earlier, X, okay? This is the biological form. This is what's going on, but it's also whatever this whole dynamic thing that is going on. It's X, like in algebra, to stand in for what we don't know, okay? We see it's interacting, it's part of the equation, but we can't properly define it. It is the unexpressible, God, the universe, karma, whatever, like X, okay? It's just X. All of it's X. DNA, RNA relationship, biological function of life, all of it. It's X, okay? So we are going to show how there are distinct aspects of X, okay? So, first off, we have a little part right here that we call physical body. Okay? This is going to represent our physical body, okay? This is that, all right? It's what you're seeing right here, okay? You're hearing its effects, okay? Now, up here, I'm going to put this nice little wavy line because this is going to show the difference, okay? The reason why we got a nice wavy line and a different solid line here. Solid line, there's a different type of interaction between the mind and the body, right? Thought and body, okay? So this represents something that's more tangible, a difference, a barrier, okay? With the wave, we have the idea of fluidity, okay? So we have the mind, we have thought, we have the unknown, okay? So up here, we're going to put X again, okay? We don't know what it is. I'm going to put some little quotey marks around it, okay? We don't know what X is, okay? But it's there, okay? It's there in this whole thing, okay? And right here, we have U. Awareness function. You are here, okay? The thing that you call I, me, okay, it's awareness function. That is the appropriate function of our intellect, of the mind, okay? So we have the physical body, we have the awareness function, then we have X. And like we talked about earlier, I don't know how to walk, I don't know how to talk, I don't know how to beat my heart, I don't know how to breathe. X does these things, okay? The body does these things. I, the awareness function, determines what's true and valuable, what I'd like to do, how I feel about it, and that feeling communicates to X, okay? And like we were talking earlier, if we view something and we interpret it as threatening, as bad, as no good, and we go into fight or flight, we get that feeling of anger, fear, guilt, or insecurity, and that feeling is what translates past this nice little wavy barrier to X, okay? You can think about it all you want, okay? You can sit there and try to convince yourself that you're not angry, that you're not guilty, whatever, and X is not going to hear it, okay? X is going to hear your feeling, okay? And if you're still really worked up, you not believe in it, that you're not angry, that they're not to blame, you're not going to feel any different. And if you don't feel any different, X is not going to know what to send as a response, okay? So, you tell, let's just say, okay, physical body, here's some impressions, okay? So from the outer world, we have impressions coming in from outside into the mind. You're hearing things, okay? You're translating stuff with language. You're understanding things. And this coming from here, okay? You're hearing somebody talk bad about you. You know, you're hearing tweets by somebody that you might not be too fond of or whatever, all right? That's coming into the awareness function, okay? But you also have some input coming here, okay, from the physical body. You got a stomach ache. You got a leg cramp, okay? You got a migraine. Whatever it is, you're getting tired. You're physically getting tired, okay? So you're having sensations coming into the awareness function from the physical body and from outside, okay? Now, technically, we would say, all right, we're using our eyes to see, we're using our ears to hear, so yes, it's all really being filtered through the physical body, okay? But we'll make the distinction because it could be helpful, okay? So you're going to have these inputs. And then you, as the awareness function, have this frame of reference, and you're going to evaluate what is true based off of what you've gotten. You know, you see a car coming at you, you think, okay, car, body, not very strong, fast, that's going to be bad if that happens. I would like to stay alive, okay? You don't have time to make these things, but we're slowing it down, okay? You see the danger, you respond, this is dangerous, it's valuable for me to do something, and you get that fight or flight stuff initiated, and X goes, and throws your body, you know, you jump. You know, you would say, oh, I jumped out of the way just in time. Now, X threw your butt across the room, you know, or across the road because a car was about to hit you, okay? You know, you ever have those moments where you just like caught something, you know? You didn't even think about it. You just like saw it falling out of the corner of your eye and you snatched it. It's like, you didn't have time to think about that. You didn't do that. Your awareness happened to catch something, glass falling off the table, and that registers that's going to break on the thing, and it's true and valuable that that does not break, okay? It's valuable that does not break, and X went, we'll grab it. That's what we're talking about here. These impressions, you don't control this. You're an evaluator. You evaluate the input. You determine what's true and valuable, and that generates a feeling, and that feeling communicates to X. Okay? So I'm going to, on Twitch, switch over a slide. Oh, go one more. There we go. All right, here's that. Okay? In the past, it's been called the picture of man, but, you know, times are changing, all this stuff, whatever. It's same thing gets a point. It gets across. The picture of a human, the picture of humanity, the picture of the integrated living being, the picture of man, okay? And so if you're seeing this on Twitch, you can see a little more broken down what's going on here. And so what does X do when it receives this feeling? It sends information to the physical body, okay? And this is faster than you don't know this, okay? This is happening in the background. That's why we don't see it. We know it's doing something, but we don't witness it in this way. Sends that response to the physical body, and the physical body sends out the action, okay? The appropriate action, okay? And like we said earlier, if you're telling X that you're in a threatening place because dude's mean mugging you over there and you need to be in fight or flight response even though you're not, you're just being angry or fearful or guilty or whatever you're feeling, you're telling X that it is appropriate for us to fight or flight. And so X goes down here and says, all right, here's all this stuff. But then you're also going, hey, mixed signals. We can't just run over there and slug dude. And we don't need to just go run screaming out here because our social status will be damaged. And so it goes, okay, well, we'll put the brakes on, but it's still thing. And you're in this internal conflict and it's zipping around in here. And so you're frozen, you're paralyzed, okay? Whereas normally, like we were talking about with the glass falling off the table thing, you know, you solved it, you evaluated it before you even realized it. If you were clear, you know, if you were in the middle of a conversation, you might not. But if you're just sitting there and you're just relaxed and you see that happen, you might just snatch that thing before you even knew you caught it, you know? And that's X sending that appropriate information and you having the appropriate response, okay? So if you're on Twitch, you can see another diagram of this. This is a lot clearer. It has some more things. Feel free to... I just threw it. Feel free to screenshot these things. If you want these graphics, private message me or say it in chat, and I will send you these graphics. And like I said earlier, I've got more information because these are not my ideas. I didn't come up with this, okay? Someone gave this to me, and I know that this has been talked about by at least 2 different gentlemen over the past century. And I have access to recordings of theirs, books of theirs, other writings of theirs, and can help you along the way there, okay? I'm just sharing these because I've worked with these for about 5 years now and have had some interesting results. And from experience, here you are. So let me pop over here to chat real quick. Hey, Renee. How's it going? Over on Facebook. Let's see. Like telling yourself not to think about elephants. Yeah, there you go. Or the game. Oh, man, that's the second time in like a couple days I've lost the game. Okay? Some dude posted some little post about it. It's screwed up, man. Got your number. Like, literally, I do. Okay. So, this is how the body is meant to function. This is how animals function. This is how we, when we're clear, function. Okay? We have input from the body and from our environment and from the physical body, which is also our environment, you know. And that comes into the awareness function. We evaluate it, decide what's true and valuable. That generates a feeling. The feeling communicates to X, and X says, okay, based off of this information, here's the appropriate information that you need. You know, here's all the hormones, here's all of this, that, and the other to make this happen. And the physical body, the motor function, does the thing, okay? It does the thing. So, does anybody have any questions about self-remembering, which is, you know, the picture of the integrated living being here as described, and how this functions and how this deals with things? Let's see. Good. Had to, yeah. Okay. All right. So this is the X of the XIV. Okay. This is self-remembering. The I is the idea of like balancing that stress and things and stuff in the middle. And next we're going to go into the V, which is basically we're going to take this clear as mud picture and we're going to muddy it up a little more. and we're going to look a little closer at what our inner state is like as far as internal conflict, okay? So, questions? Let it catch up a little bit. I can always talk about it without the thing, and I'm going to really try not to knock the board off again, but we'll all have a good laugh if it does. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Whether you have an essential job and you got to be out there in the midst of all this craziness, or if you are stuck at home, you know, I hope you're doing well. I hope everyone in your family is safe. Being smart in these strange times we got going on. And hopefully this, what we're sharing tonight, will give you some tools to be able to de-escalate yourself a little bit. Not just right now, but in your day-to-day life. Because like we said earlier, you know, many of us have a lot of these things going all the time. Things we're angry about, guilty about, fearful of, and insecure about, okay? We have this really ingrained in our society right now, and very fear-based and whatnot. And so hopefully these tools will aid you in your own work, because I can't do it for you. This is something you've got to test for yourself. You've got to experiment with these things and see, well, are my feelings dictated by my frame of reference, by my thoughts? And are my feelings sending these signals to, you know, go into fight or flight? And does that actually help my situation and things of that nature, okay? So before we go into the V, we're going to talk a little bit about your purpose for life, okay? The purpose for you being here, okay? Feel free to pop in chat. Tell me what you think your purpose is. Like, why do you think you're here? What is your purpose for living? What drives you? What gives you meaning and purpose, okay? Let's get some examples going here while I write this up here. Okay. So, I hate to break it to you, but most likely, okay, there we go. We got some comments. My purpose seems to be purposeless in an interesting way. Okay. Oh, and you also said, I don't de-escalate, I burn out. Yeah, how's that working out for you? How's that burnout? Yeah, that's called fatigue. It's exhaustion. It's from being in a stressful situation so long that your body's just, you know, you can become what I forget the term, but it's basically where your adrenal receptors become exhausted. Like you've just been in stress so much that you can't even respond to it anymore. And you can become incredibly debilitated, both physically and mentally, by staying in those states and being burnout, okay? So de-escalation is a way to kind of prevent that burnout, all right? All right, Renee said love. And then, let's see, we've got, okay, I don't know, I think I may be half Phoenix. Really? Well, I, for one, have appreciated the symbol of the phoenix since I was a kid, in that it's always able to rise again. You know, it lives, it burns, and then it is reduced to its ashes and is reborn from them. And the idea for me has been every day I'm born new. I get to burn the way I do during that day, and then at the end of the day, I'm reduced back to those ashes, and the next day, I'm born again from those ashes. That's my phoenix analogy there. So, I think the stream froze for me. Oh yeah, burnout. Well, Elk, let me know if you're still having issues. I'm showing good bit rate and stuff on my end, so I don't know what might be the problem. Let's see. Okay, come on now. There we go. All right. Okay, so we're back. Oh wait, nope. That messed up. Let me switch that and back to that. There we go. Okay. Cool. See. Oh yeah. Nah, I burn out, but I know I can always pull myself up. Because honestly, in the future, it will be fun to laugh about the worries of my youth. Yeah, but you got to consider something, okay? So I get that. I do. I have lots of fun and interesting stories of me being human, okay? In those ways. But the type of damage we're talking about you're doing to your body because you're having these unreleased, unexpressed stress hormones and whatnot, these stressors, okay? And you're doing it to the point where you're burning out. You're getting so exhausted, you're just out, down for the count, okay? You got to consider what that's doing to your body. I'm still trying to figure out my purpose, okay? As are most people, if they're honest with themselves. You got to understand what that's doing to your body, okay? Especially over years. Like, you may not have much old to remember your youth in if you destroy your body while you're young by staying in inappropriate states so much that it degrades and disintegrates your body. Okay? So do you understand what I'm picking up when I'm laying down here? And once again, Kai is talking about truth as if he knows, rather than we don't know. So, what we're going to talk about here is your purpose, okay? Your purpose for life that you don't know about, okay? Your purpose for life is non-disturbance. That's your purpose, okay? It's been your purpose since you were born, all right? Because things happen that disturb you, bother you, make you feel uncomfortable in various ways, and you don't like it and you want it to stop. You want to be in a perpetual state of bliss, or, we could also call it, what? Happiness? Okay? That's what drives you. Okay? And don't believe this stuff. Like I said, this is not mine. I didn't come up with this. These are teaching ideas that have been passed down through generations. And I've experimented with these and found this was true. This is true for me. Okay? My purpose was to be non-disturbed. I just didn't want stuff to bother me. Ever. And every time that it did, I went into one of those 4 emotional states of either anger, fear, guilt, or insecurity. Okay? And I wrecked this body with stress hormones that I could not express. Okay? This is what you decided on a long, long time ago when you were an infant. And you have reinforced this throughout your entire life. Okay? Now, there's 4 what we'll call dual basic urges to this, okay? So, each of these, you want to escape and gain, okay? Now, we're going to go meow, meow, and meow. I think that's... let's not do the thing. Alright. Whoop, there it goes. Alright. I want to watch that on the stream in the delay. Let's see it. Here we go. Well, thank you, Hypno Zombie. It was great to have you here. Thanks for interacting, and look forward to seeing you again soon. So, okay. So I think we can be seen. Yeah, kind of. Enough. All right. Because we can ask about this. All right. Well, yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if the wife will let me mount it on the wall. I do need to find the actual screw. I went to look for it earlier. I didn't realize it was missing, and it doesn't have the washer and the nut for it, so I don't know where it's in my storage room thing. So I'll find it. We'll be a little more functional next time. So, okay. Can everybody see that? If you can't, okay. If you're on Twitch, let's go back. All right, if you're on Twitch, this is what I'm about to draw up here, okay? Okay, thank you, my love. Oh, wait, no, you said nope because of mounting the thing on the wall. Yeah, no, I knew better than that. All right, we're gonna stay? Are we golden? We good? All right. Watch it fall on my head. All right, man, I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I've averaged at least 10. I've got 8 people on Twitch right now, and then shows I've got 1 person on Facebook, but that's just been kind of spotty. So really appreciate y'all being here. This has been great, and I will do this again, and we'll go over these things some more. Okay, so we want to gain and escape things that disturb us, okay, or that don't serve. We want to, escape disturbance and gain non-disturbance. And there's different ways that we do this, okay? So, over here we've got pain. Pain. We want to escape pain. Don't like it, don't want it, get it out, okay? And we want to gain pleasure, okay? So, this is on a physical level, okay? Physical level of pleasure and pain, okay? Now, everybody's different in this, okay? There are some people who enjoy a nice amount of pain, and that's pleasure to them, okay? And there are some people that some physical pleasure is uncomfortable and painful to them, okay? So, some people like to be tickled, some people don't. Some people like to be, well, we won't go into all of that. But, you know what I'm talking about. We're all adults here, so, this varies, but this is this is the first part of it. This is the physical aspect of it. Escape pain, gain pleasure, okay? Now, on an mental level, there we go. We want to escape being ignored, okay? And we want to gain some attention. All right? And so this is on a mental level, all right? We like people to pay attention to us, and we don't like it when we're ignored, especially if we know we're being ignored, okay? It is very unpleasurable, okay? It is painful to be ignored, and it is pleasurable to have attention, okay? And everybody has these on varying levels. Some people don't like to have a lot of attention, okay? And they'd rather be ignored, okay? This is going to vary per person, okay? But this is general rule. This is what's going on in the individual, but everybody's going to manifest differently, okay? Now, on an emotional level, we want to escape disapproval. And we want to gain approval. Alright, so that's on an emotional level. We want people to like us. We want people to think we're great and we're doing good and we got our stuff together, and we don't like it if someone's like, man, you're a mess. I don't like you, okay? Because that hurts our feelings. That's painful. And it's pleasurable to have people like you and approve of what you're doing. And once again, varies per person individually, but these are the areas, okay? You may pop up differently on the grid, okay, on the chart, but these are the bases, okay? Now, the last one is we want to escape inferiority. Okay? And we would love to gain power. Actually, I'm going to write this a different way. If I can erase it. This is going to be the urge. That is a G, even though it doesn't look like a G at all, because my handwriting hasn't improved since the second grade, and it won't, because I don't care enough to do anything about it. Urge to power. All right? That's pretty pleasurable, isn't it? When you've got power over other people, or even when you feel like you've got power over yourself, man, that feels great, okay? And when you feel powerless or inferior, it is not very pleasurable. It is painful, okay? Now, all four of these dual basic urges make up this concept of non-disturbance, okay? You're fine. You're not feeling any physical pleasure, but your crush ain't texting you back. You saw that she read it, but she ain't said nothing. You're being ignored, and you don't know if you're being approved of, and you would just love it if she would just text you back, because, man, if I could just respond, yes or no, come on. You want to have the power to be able to make people do what you want them to do, okay? This is this whole web of non-disturbance that drives your purpose, okay? Let's see what we got here. That's what fucks me is the urge to power. Yeah, well, here's the beauty of that, though, okay? There is only one of these that you can change, okay? Now, each of them is going to alter throughout your life, okay? Things that you felt were painful at some point in your life may end up being pleasurable, and some things you were pleasured by might be painful, okay? That's gonna change, just kind of as it does, all right? Being ignored and seeking attention, you're going to go through stages, okay, where you're going to want that. And every human needs a degree. You don't need to live in pain. You're not going to function well if you're in physical pain, okay? So you need a degree of pleasure. We were talking about earlier, like, it's almost impossible to focus on the inner state and self-work and self-knowing if your activity, your nutrition, and your environment are really off, okay? So you need a degree of pleasure, of comfort, of necessities, okay? And, we are social creatures. We are social animals. We evolved this way. This is how we got here, okay? So we need, attention and approval to a degree to have an in-group and thrive in that regard, okay? And without that, I mean, you can see what happens to people who are highly isolated, especially unwillingly. Now, there are hermits and stuff like that who intentionally go out and they have other things that are going on in their minds, okay? But some people just degenerate when they don't have these things, okay? So the one that you can change is this urge to power, okay? And we're going to kind of get to that, but if we go back to the X, when we were talking about, and then we'll flip back there on Twitch. If we go back to the picture of man there with, your purpose on this, you see that you don't control your own body. You can't just say, okay, heart, stop. I'm done with it. I'm over it. Just end. Because I know we've all felt like that at some point in our lives because somebody broke our heart. And we just didn't have the strength to go on. It just wanted to stop. And then fine. And the body went, nope, we're going to stick around. You'll get over it. Shut up. And it just kept trucking, okay? You don't have that power, okay? And if you really look at the emotions of anger, fear, guilt, insecurity, okay? How much does that help you? How much power do you have over someone else? You may be able to manipulate someone into doing what you want them to do, but they may do it, but begrudgingly, okay? It's not effective. You don't really have power over people and their thoughts and their emotions and things of that nature, okay? And it's destructive when you try to exert that. You see that in toxic relationships, where it's degrading to both parties because someone is trying to exert power over someone else. And it's not a pretty picture when people try to do that, okay? And you have like guilt, oh, I just want to start eating better, I'm just going to beat myself up to it or whatever. I'm like, how much does that help? Like beating yourself up, trying to force yourself to do something. How well does that work? It really doesn't pan out. That's not an appropriate way to go about getting that, okay? So when you start to look at those things and how, the emotions are not helpful in that regard, in these day-to-day lives, this is the idea of the fight or flight ones, the anger, fear, guilt, insecurity. And so that power that you think that you're having by those is false. And if you look at the picture of the integrated being like we have up on Twitch, you realize your role is the awareness. Your role is to evaluate what is true and valuable, okay? And that's your role. You don't have power. You don't have the power that X does to make the body do whatever, and you don't have the power over the body to, you just don't. You don't have power over the external situations, okay? You are responding to what is going on, okay, by determining, based off all the data you have, the frame of reference you're in, what is true and what is valuable. That's your job, okay? That's the power that you have. Anything else, okay? So we can begin to evaluate whether this urge to power is actually appropriate. And if this is reevaluated and a new purpose is given here, then this all changes. This is all a dynamic transformation, and I won't, because I can't tell you what it will look like for you. It will manifest completely differently in almost every person. There will be some similarities, just like we've been saying. All this, it's in the individual, but it's going to manifest in unique ways. Okay. So, are there any questions about non-disturbance as a purpose for living and the 4 dual basic urges? Well, Kai, I really appreciate that. The offer to donate a computer, I will definitely take it. It'd be wonderful. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's over here. It's just a real sensitive mic. I didn't realize it was going to be that sensitive. I don't know that moving it. Okay, did that affect it at all? Because it's still really loud. I mean, I can hear it. But anyway. All right, if there's no questions here, it stopped. Oh, brilliant. Okay, so we'll have it over here now. All right, so let's, we're going to take off this part here, and we're going to move to the V in the XIV. So we've went over the balancing of the 4 factors of stress, the I. We've been over the X and the picture of the integrated living being and how this form functions in this regard. And we've now talked about the emotions that initiate fight or flight response. The blaming emotions of anger, fear, guilt, and insecurity. I blame you, I blame he, she, it, circumstances, all that good stuff. And then we've talked about our purpose for living, which is non-disturbance or happiness, bliss. Just don't want to be bothered by anything. And these 4 ways that we try and gain and escape it. Physically through pleasure and pain, attention and being ignored, and then approval, disapproval, and the urge to power and inferiority. So, yeah, I'm going to try and get me a video editing rig by summer and goals to... So. Awesome. Yep, and aim is nice because goals imply an end. Okay, you got to get there, and that's an ideal. Like that's where I want to be. And if you miss your goal, then everything's crap. You know, you've gotten disappointed because your expectations weren't met. But if you have an aim like an archery, okay, like you take aim at the target and you loose an arrow. You might hit it, you might not. Okay, you get another arrow, you aim. So this is where you're wanting to go, but you know you just got to recalibrate your aim every time. So that's just a little vernacular, you know, playing with words bit there, but helpful to this one. So, all right, last thing for the evening. I don't even know how long I've been going at this point. I don't even know what time it is. Let's see. Let's check this. I've been going for 2 hours. Wow. Bet y'all are ready for me to shut up. I mean, if you were, you would have clicked off, and right now there are 7 of you on Twitch. Thank you. And I don't know what to trust on Facebook, so it's been pretty quiet on the Facebook end, but that is just fine. I am going to have to get a dry one and rub this down. Do. Ah! There it goes. All right. Oh, goodness. Come on. We're good? Okay, we're good. All right. Dry napkin. Got a new mic? Well, good. Glad it's working out for you. Okay. So, we had X, I, V as our outline at the beginning of this evening, okay? And we've gone through I and we've gone through X, and now we're going to look at V, okay? Now, when we drew the X thing, if you're watching on Twitch, you see the picture that we drew, okay? It is the 4 aspects of an integrated living being, okay? You have the physical body, which instead of doing X, we're going to do a V, okay? So the X recognizes that even though those are separate aspects of X, there is the biological X there is awareness function, there's the physical body, and there's the action, it is still all X. It is all within X, okay? It's a nice reminder that that is the expression of X, okay? But in the V, we're going to talk about conditioning and how we are conditioned to feel separate and cut off. So we're going to use a V. And we're going to need a nice wide V because there's a lot going on here, okay? Now, just like in the picture of the integrated living being or the picture of man, like I've got set up here, okay? We, which is on Twitch, we have the physical body, down here, okay? Now, like we just went over, on top of that, we have this purpose for living, okay? We're going to put non-disturbance. Okay, so some things about this picture, which, by the way, let's do our little loopy bit here, okay? So we've got X up here, all right? We don't know what it is. It's undefinable, okay? It's there. It's interacting, okay? Now, we have this awareness function. We're just going to put AF right here for right now, for awareness function, okay? That's what this is. Now, immediately when we're born, okay, we have a series of experiences, okay, going from the uterine world, which is perfect. It's paradise. It's complete non-disturbance. You know, there are exceptional cases, but typically it is designed to be as non-disturbing to the growing fetus and infant as it can possibly be. Sounds are dampened, it's nice and warm, it's, you know, breathing warm fluids, it never feels hungry because it's immediately intravenously fed through the mother. It's just perfect. You're just floating in it, okay? And then one day everything goes wrong. Or right. Both. And you get expelled out of paradise, okay? You get thrown out of heaven, all right? And suddenly there's bright lights. Oh my God. And it's cold. What is this? And there's just dryness. And then you breathe. For the first time, you breathe lungs that had only felt warm fluid. You breathe cold hospital air, you know. And you're feeling all these sensations. You might get poked, you might get smacked, you might have eye drops put in your eyes. You got all sorts of people poking and prodding. Sounds are no longer muffled. They're sharp and pointed. And immediately it's like, this is not okay. I don't like this. And of course this is all nonverbal, and the only thing you can do is go at a decibel level that literally rattles the skulls of adult human beings, okay? If you've got kids, you know what I'm talking about. So this begins this concept of separation. I was here, now whatever I am, I'm here, and all these things are attacking me. All these things are happening to me, okay? And there's separation, okay? And you want it to stop. And what happens is you scream, you complain in the only way that you possibly can, okay? And we're going to put a nice little bubble here, the number 1, okay? And the number 1 is complain, okay? And that is absolutely healthy and absolutely necessary for an infant. If it does not complain in the only way that it can, you will not know something is wrong with it. You will not know that it has crapped itself. You will not know that it is hungry. You will not know that it has injured itself unless it complains. It's the only thing it can do, and it has to do that, okay? It's appropriate for that situation. What happens is when that carries on, and we can get into complaining in just a minute, okay? All right, so as we grow, we begin to develop a frame of reference, okay? We recognize certain people, we recognize certain shapes, we recognize certain sensations, okay? So we have, our bottle, our passy, our mommy, our daddy, and we like these things, okay? But we start hearing another thing, which we eventually come to know as our name, and that is us. So now there is me and them. There is you and I, okay? There's a separation. Once again, there's a separation here, okay? There's a separation from everything. You want to talk about original sin? This is it. This is when we miss the mark and we start to believe that we are separate in this whole big happening that is X, okay? And that's where let's see, what's potential, home more stuff, going to be bouncing, so hope, have a good night. Okay, cool. I think he's already gone, so, but appreciate you tuning in. Anyway, okay, so, separation. This is where we begin to think of a self and an other, and, this leads to, these ideas of guilt and anger and fear and all this stuff, because you have a you to blame now, and you have a them to blame now, okay? So you have this separation. Now, you begin to get fed and all this stuff. You get toys, you get... trying to make that a little smaller because I got to do another one right here, and I got to make room for another one. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. You just complain, okay? But then you begin to feel entitled to these things. It's no longer, like, oh, I need food. It's like, hey, I'd like that cookie, And once again, it's nonverbal. You don't know, but you just know that you've gotten that before, or you get all this attention. You remember we were talking about the 4 DBUs? We're talking about getting attention and approval, and I'm going to go back to that. Okay, there we go, on Twitch. You start seeing, you want attention, you want approval, okay? You want people to make goo-goo faces at you, and you want them to play peekaboo with you and then jiggle the toy. And if they don't, then bad, horrible, bad. And so you complain about it. But if you're a parent, you know that there's a difference, okay? And I was introduced to this teaching at a very interesting stage in life, because I had a almost year-old son at the time. And seeing this, and I know hearing this if you don't have a kid is a little different, okay? But if you do and you're able to watch a child grow, this becomes really real, you know, not just in self, but when you see that this has progressed on, okay? So 2, is entitlement, okay? Or sticking up for your rights, okay? And that, there we go. I think entitle, might have misspelled it, you'll be fine. Okay, we're gonna go this way, 2. All right, so now I'm gonna show you all this picture that I'm drawing up here. So, on Twitch at least. Let's see, who's this chatting? Twitch screen was cool. I enjoyed it, and it was a good refresher on those graphics. I was out, by the way. Oh, okay, cool. I know who that was now. Sweet. Right. So, sticking up for rights. Okay. This means I'm going to get either miserable or threatening. Okay. And so I recall noting a difference in the sound of the cry of my child, my son. Okay. There was this one that literally rattled my skull, but then there was one that was like, meh. And then there was one that was like, ah, ah, you know, threatening and miserable, okay? There were 2 different cries. And I remember when I heard these ideas, and I was like, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know the difference between those things. And I remember the first time I heard him get aggressive and threatening. And I remember the first time I just heard him get pitiful and just whiny, okay? And sticking up for, you know, okay, I want the thing. I want the cookie. I want you to hold me. I want you to do whatever it is. Remember that, okay? That's real. From my experience, I mean, check it out for yourself, but it's real stuff, okay? So, excuse me. I've been talking for 2 hours apparently, so I'm starting to get a little dry, which, hey, look, drink. All right. Now we have a problem. Because right now, this child's acting pretty integrated, okay? It wants something, it complains about it, it hopefully gets it, okay? And this is, you know, it escalates to number 1, rattles the skull, whatever. It's getting its non-disturbance, okay? Well, over here, develops another thing, okay? We're going to call this one number 3, okay? Now, number 3 is the pleaser. Number 3 realizes that if it smiles at mommy or daddy, okay, or somebody, then it makes that other person happy. Okay, this is almost like, initially, it's almost like the first third eye awakening of the child to realize it can impact other people positively, okay? And they like it. They like it when I smile. They like it when I giggle and laugh and I slap the thing around and act all silly. People like that, okay? And that's great. It's great information. It's really innocent. And then something else happens, okay? So we're going to put the awareness function back up here, okay, in this nice little bubble. Well, this becomes a tool of manipulation. Because now, if, Complaining doesn't work. And just screaming at the top of my lungs does not get me what I want. Complaining about what I would like. Then I'm going to go to miserable or threatening. And if that doesn't work, well, guess what? I could go, smile, act all silly. You know, if you got words at the time, you can be like, I love you, or wavu, or whatever you're saying at the time. And you know, there's things that work for daddy, there's things that work for mommy, there's things that work for strangers, you know, and it gets them hooked, okay? And it pleases them. So they give you what you want. You have a new tactic, okay? But it's different, all right? Because this one is dependent on authorities. That tell you what you should do and say and believe, okay? Daddy is an authority. He likes certain things, he doesn't like other things. He wants you to do certain things, he doesn't want you to do other things. Mommy is pretty similar, but also has her own little variations in amongst the things. And then when you get older and you have babysitters and daycare and grandmas and grandpas, and everybody is a different authority. Everybody responds differently or reacts differently to different things, okay? And so these determine how you please, okay? You want to reference your authorities, okay? So now we've got a schism, okay? This is where internal conflict begins, okay? We have over here this A side, and over here, we're going to call that the B side, okay? Now, A side is survival. And the B side is justice, okay? Survival says, I want what I want right now, and you're going to give it to me, okay? And that's the aggressive. That is the imposing your will. That's the power over others, trying to just really force yourself out there, okay? Justice says, no, you can't just get what you want. You have to give someone else what they want so that they'll give you what you want, okay? You got to smile and say I love you, or say thank you if you want the banana cookie, okay? That's a direct anecdote from my son. He used to love those little banana cookie things you got for infants. So you gotta play nice. You gotta give them what they want in order to get what you want. So now you can see where there begins to be internal conflict. This side wants to just do it now, get what it wants. And this side says, no, we've got to play some rules. You know, we got to do something here. We got to please these authorities, and we got to bounce around here, okay? Now, as the child grows, it's mostly going to stay between these four, okay? Up until around 5, 7 or so, you know, maybe a little older, depending on the child, you're going to develop a number 5 over here. And number 5, we call the self-improver. And that says, man, I just need to be better. This is where guilt starts, okay? I just need to be better. I need to be like that guy because he's more athletic. And he's got those cool clothes, and everybody likes him. And if I was just more like him, then I'd have what I want. I'd be non-disturbed. I'd have all the attention and approval and pleasure that I could want. And you go about trying to get that, okay? And you do that by getting different authorities, trying to please those, and this is the whole B-side way of getting about things. This form of manipulation. It is a selfless selfishness. It is like, no, don't worry about me. I'll let you go in before me. I'll do this, I'll do that, because you want something from them. Okay? It's a manipulative side of the personality. Now, eventually, this doesn't go on for so long unchallenged. Excuse me. No, I don't have the Rona. After a while, you say, no, it's not me. It's you. It's he, she, it's circumstances that needs to be different. Not me. Not this, I've actually got it together. It's all you need to get your stuff together. And so number 6 appears over here. And that's the blamer, okay? So, the blamer says, it's your fault. Self-improver says, it's my fault, okay? Anger, guilt, okay? That's the top tiers of these two, okay? You got pride. Let's put that over here. Let's put pride. And we'll try and put it right in here. Vanity, okay? Pride says, nah, I can do it. It's me. I'm the powerful one. I get what I want. I do what I want. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? Vanity says, oh, I know my faults. I know my shortcomings, and I'm working on them, and I'm going to be fine. I'll be all right. I know all my blemishes. I know all my things I need to work on, and it goes about doing those things. Okay? So, this is your state of being as you're trying to get non-disturbance. So you have all sorts of internal conflict coming from all of these all the time. And we call that thinking. That's the mind. That is the radio without an off switch. And as you can see, this creates quite a ruckus, quite a barrier, quite an obstacle between this integrated form that we had before, okay? To go back to, there we go, the picture of the integrated living being. You see, we've made a right mess of this awareness function, because the awareness function isn't even an awareness function anymore. It's just a chooser. Okay? It's just sitting up there being like, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, that's right. No, that's what we're feeling now. And it's switching gears. You know, we were talking about emotions earlier, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all the time, okay? It's just picking those, and they're just coming at them constantly, okay? Flipping them back and forth, back and forth. And you want to talk about mixed signals that you're sending to X, okay? When you've got anger, fear, and guilt and insecurity all running rampant with every little while, it's just like, no, it's okay, or no, we can't do that, or no, that's not proper, or no, that's not justifiable, no, we can't, you know. This is quite a state to be in. And this is most of our typical state of being. Okay? This is mostly what we look like. You know, we're constantly bouncing back between how do we react to this situation? You know, what's to blame? Is it someone else out there? You know, is someone taking away something I'm entitled to? That's my right to have that. But it might be a privilege, like we talked about earlier. Or you just complain, which the complaint is just saying, I don't like this. It's too cold. When your jacket's laying right over there. Or the thermostat's right there. Okay? It's just cold. I don't like it. And what do you want somebody to snap your fingers? Yeah, you do. You want, just like your parents took care of it when you were an infant, when you complained. There it is. You know, it's the same thing. It's just become more sophisticated as you've gotten older, okay? And then on the other side, you've got all these authorities. You know, it used to just be mommy and daddy and grandma and grandpa and then maybe school and teacher and things. But now, how many friends do you have that you hang out with and every single one of them likes something different? And they dislike something else, okay? You have your political party that you align with. You have your religion you align with. You have your nationality you align with. Every single one of those is another authority, and they almost all contradict each other and even have contradictions within themselves. Okay? And so you're constantly trying to please these things and improve yourself to meet some graven image that you imagine yourself to be, that if you were just that. Hey, Killing Soup, how you doing, sir? I'm actually probably close to the end of this stream because I've been talking for over 2 hours. mean, I could probably head on for probably another 2 or 3 hours, but I don't know if anybody's going to watch that long. But later on, you should, when this is over, you should start the stream over and check it out. Let me know what you think. Glad you popped in for a little bit. So this is what you're constantly in, an internal conflict all the time. You've got your A side wanting to just complain about how you don't like what's happening to you, that you're being disturbed by stuff, you're not getting the attention and approval that you want, that you're entitled to, and you're getting aggressive and miserable about that, and you're trying to find someone to blame and make it happen, you know. You're getting more aggressive. That's the fight side, you know, and over here you're trying to like, oh, no, it's okay. You're trying to placate people and please people and not cause a fuss because you're going to give them what they want so that they'll give you what you want. Whereas over here, you're like, I want what I want right now, and you're going to give it to me, okay? So this is your internal conflict. This is what we call the human condition. This is the conditioned human, okay? This is what you look like. You are here, right? This is what drives you. This is what controls you. This is all these little sub-personalities that exist within the mind that keep you in this state of disintegration, okay? And it is crazy, all right? So now we're going to go one last thing, and I'm just going to kind of try and tie it together, okay? And I would like for this to not be as damp as it was so that I don't have to dry it off. Let's see. All right, let's try that. Once again, this thing may fall, and we'll all have a good laugh about it. Held on to about 4 viewers, it looks like. But man, I was really surprised. You know, we've stayed over 10 for probably the first hour and stayed steady at a good 8 or 9 for the rest of it. So I really appreciate everyone who's tuned in, those few who are hanging in there with me. And thank you. All the chats have been great. It's been nice to have people to engage with. I'm definitely going to do this again. I don't know when. I am still having to work, since my job is essential. And I'll do it when I can and ask questions. Let me know about things you want me to clarify on. And yeah, we'll go at it. So we started with this. With X, I, V. Okay, and we broke down all 3 of these, okay? We started with the I, which is where we had activity and nutrition and environment and inner state, okay? And we talked about how this is the stress and adaptation kind of balancing act that goes on there. And then we talked about how our emotions affect our state of being in the sense of putting us into fight or flight and destabilizing our equilibrium in this sense, okay? And how valuable it is to be aware of those different inner states and how all that plays out, okay? And then we came over here and we talked about the physical body, the awareness function, and X, okay? And then the action that happens due to this relationship, okay? And we'll do a little doodad there, and then it's all clear as mud, right? Okay, so this was self-remembering, okay? And then over here, we have our nice little doodad, the chooser, and our internal conflict. All right? So, we've gone over all these things tonight. You know, I just noticed we got another viewer. If you're just joining in, you missed out on a lot. But I'm going to have this video up, so please go back and watch if you're interested in this, and you can kind of fill in what we're talking about. Just get an overview as I end tonight, okay? So we have self-remembering, which is knowing what you are. It's the idea of an integrated living being, part of X, that this whole thing that is going on. You're an awareness function that evaluates what is true and valuable, and that feeling that is generated communicates to X, and X gives the appropriate response and energy to the physical body, and it produces the action, okay? And that's how we work as an integrated living being. But that gets real complicated over here with our nice frontal lobe with self-reflection and all this stuff, where we can get all worried and distressed and worked up over so many things, okay? And because of that internal conflict, it blocks our awareness function and reduces us to a chooser, where we have to pick, well, what's to blame for this? Because this is what's wrong, and I'm entitled to this, and I need to please this authority, and I have to do this, and I gotta be better, and no, it's your fault, and everything just blocks all this. So you end up sending so many mixed signals and feelings to X that your body and your mind become completely out of whack, okay? And so self-remembering, self-observation, knowing what you are, knowing what you're not, brings you to self-knowing, which is, well, being aware of both, okay? It's in the middle, and this is the balance. It brings balance to this. You know, de-escalating to know what you are and keeping a clear sight on what the personality is doing, observing yourself think, okay? And realizing, oh, it's not actually me thinking. My brain thinks just like my heart beats or my lungs breathe. They do it of their own accord. I don't do it. I don't think that. I didn't want to remember that time in 4th grade when I kicked that kid in the face. Okay? No, that's not actually an anecdote. But, you know, I didn't want to remember that. That just suddenly came. Some association popped that into my head, and now I'm aware of it. Now I've got to deal with that and find out, do I need to feel guilty about that thing that I did way back when? Do I need to feel angry about it? Do I need to do this? And you end up worrying and fretting about it and staying up all night just in this big pit of despair of how you've always been a horrible, despicable person. Okay? This is not you. This is not actually what you are. You are an awareness function. This is the mind thinking all these associations, all of these suggestions all the time. And you as an awareness function fall asleep and buy these things. And you feel the feelings that come along with them. And X takes that and does all manner of crazy stuff with that, with your body and with your mind, okay? You guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Those of you who have, I think we're ending with 4 or 5 viewers now. And, man, y'all been great. Thank you for the chats. And message me if you have any questions about this materials. Like I said, these are not my ideas. These are not my things. I have access to multiple audio, video, and written materials of men who came before me who spoke about these things, as well as other men and women who wrote about these things in newsletters and whatnot. This has been a secret. I've broken a lot of rules in telling you all this, okay? I'm not supposed to be doing this, because you're supposed to come into this when you are ready for it. And you know what? That probably means if you watch this tonight and were really, really engaged in this and interested in this, you might be ready for this. And if it's interesting to you, and if you want to check it out, check it out. You know, ask me. I'll get, you know, we have these different graphics, these different things that we can use, but there's plenty of materials. There are other people who have been students for longer than I have who would be happy to share their experiences with you and be a guide. I'm not a teacher, I'm just a guide. I've been into the wilderness and I've come back. I've gone to the mountaintop and I come back. And I'm just telling you what worked for me and that it checked out for me. And I can show you on the map. I can tell you about some landmarks and some signs, but you got to do the work yourself. Okay? And that's all this is. I love you all. I appreciate you being here. And I hope this was enjoyable, entertaining, and valuable. Peace.